Now, in a sign of what's to come from an incoming Donald Trump administration, Rick Santorum recently told a dreamer to essentially get the fuck out. Now, of course, the dreamer is somebody, of course, who was in the DACA program, basically came here illegally as a child and is allowed to work. Not be a citizen, but actually allowed to work. Now, this whole thing happened during a CNN special called The Messy Truth. Now, that is a bit of an apt name because, of course, things got messy when Elizabeth Vilchis, who was brought to the United States when she was just at the tender age of 7, spoke with Santorum and basically got to ask him a question. And let's listen to that question, and then we'll get to his response.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, first of all, and for letting me be part of the discussion. Growing up here in America, one thing I always heard was that there was a shortage of individuals who entered careers of science, engineering, and technology. And so I decided to be part of the solution. I actually earned a degree in mechanical engineering. I have a career in the technology sector, and I've spent almost a decade working with students, getting them to focus on entering careers in engineering. And I stand to lose all the work that I've done if the new administration decides to end DACA, which is the program that allows undocumented individuals like myself to have the ability to work. It's not an immigration status, it's just the ability to work. I will lose my career. My career will come to an end if that program ends. And I will also potentially be labeled for deportation, which means that I'm going to be removed from the communities that I've contributed to so much. And so as 2017 starts, I'd like to ask for your advice. How would you advise somebody like me for planning my future and what lays ahead?
All right, so look, throughout that, you see his face, it's like, don't really care. So, look, here's a young woman, right? Very successful. Seems like she studied hard, made something of herself in a field that, admittedly, we are lacking in America, the STEM field. We need more successful people in science and engineering, like to help us as a nation stay competitive with other nations who actually, invest in people like this. Now, putting in all that work, of course, doing all that study, look, it shows that she's a very driven individual who obviously understands hard work and is more than willing to put in the time and effort and money to be able to do so for the betterment of her and her community. That's the kind of person we need to have in America. Those are the kinds of people we like. People who are productive and they're willing to do the hard work and they're out there, they're doing it, hardworking, inspirational, involved. So knowing all that, saying all that, can you guess what Rick Santorum's advice to her is? Well, let's not guess. Let's have you take a look.
My own personal story is my father came to this country when he was 7 years old. And the reason he came when he was 7 years old is because he wasn't allowed to come here.
Wait, how old
until
were
he
you?
was 7 years old.
I was 7.
So,
she was 7 years old.
Right. So, and he wasn't allowed to come because there was a law in place that he couldn't come. My grandfather was here and spent the first 7 years living in America, working in America, but was not allowed to be with his family because of the immigration laws at the time. And I remember asking my father how, and he was in Mussolini's Italy, not a very, very, very pleasant place to be. And I remember asking him, and he hated Italy because it was a horrible childhood in his mind. And I asked him, I said, did you ever resent America? He said, no, America was worth the wait. It was worth doing it the right way. And I think what most people in America feel is that you've been given a tremendous benefit by being here in this country. You just described something that I don't know what country that your parents came from. But my guess is you wouldn't have had the opportunities to be able to accomplish what you have. My final point is you have the ability to go to any other country right now and apply those wares and be successful and then reapply to come back to America if you so choose.
Okay. Look, there's obviously a lot there, but talk about his final point, right? You have the ability to go to any other country right now and apply those wares and be successful and then reapply to come back to America, I guess, if you want. Basically, what he's saying is We gave you a gift, now get the fuck out. But wait a minute. Wouldn't it be better for America if she were to actually use that gift here? She's in STEM. We need STEM workers. Maybe if she were, I don't know, given something, maybe a way to become a citizen over a long period of time, maybe, pay some taxes, something like that. Maybe we can call it, I don't know, like a pathway or a brick road or something. Pathway, I like pathway to citizenship. Maybe if we had something like that, then she could be able to use that gift that she's given to give back to a country that is obviously, in Rick Santorum's mind, has given her so much. I don't know. You can see where I was going there. And look, he said it's worth going the right way after he told this personal story of how the horrible immigration laws kept his father out. But wait a minute, if we had better immigration laws, then he wouldn't have had to endure Italy under Mussolini. He's looking at that as a source of pride, like, America made my dad stay out because, made him stay with Mussolini. And that's a good thing. No, that's a bad thing. If it were up to us, he would have been able to go. And again, with the immigration stuff, and at least in that period of time, or let's talk about actually in the 1940s when there were people that are fleeing Germany, the Jews. Well, our immigration policies back then were no Jews. He's celebrating those bad immigration policies and saying that those policies, they were fine. They affected my family, and yet at the same time, now they're affecting yours, and I don't give a shit. That's essentially what he's saying. Now, the solution to this is obvious: fix immigration, right? Oh, but right, the Republican Party voted against immigration reform, their own immigration reform bill created by Marco Rubio. and furthermore, a guy who campaigned on building a giant wall between us and Mexico, walling us off, won the election. Won the Republican nomination, won the election. Jesus. But hey, look, in their defense, it will be a big, beautiful door. Or it will have a big, beautiful door in it. If it even becomes a reality, which, of course, is never going to happen. Best it'll be is a fence. Ooh, okay. Now, so Santorum also says that she was given a big, tremendous benefit. Now, let's break that down. She got an education, right? Public education, likely. Okay, that's great. College isn't free. Obviously, you have to be, college educated to be an engineer, to be in the STEM fields. So she obviously paid for that on her own because, hey, guess what? Undocumented immigrants really can't get any sort of federal student loans or federal aid. So likely she paid it out of pocket or got a scholarship. Now, then she got a job, and in so doing, now pays local and state taxes, FICA, Social Security taxes, Medicare, stuff basically that she'll never, ever be able to collect because she's not an actual citizen. Now, another thing is that there's a common misconception, and I know it's not addressed here, but a lot of people think it, because a lot of people believe it, that people who are illegal, undocumented, come over here to get these generous welfare benefits, but they don't exist. They don't exist. It's not available for undocumented people. You'd have to do some serious forging of paperwork, which you're already committing a crime. And our welfare programs, a lot of people don't know this, they're very stringent on who they let on. And they're very strict about making sure you are who you say you are. And going after people who lie and cheat the system. That's a good thing. I'd rather have a robust system that catches people who are doing fraud. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that it's actually difficult, really hard, actually, to pull off welfare fraud. Can it happen? Absolutely. But is it less likely to happen? Yeah, it is less likely to happen. Now, so she paid essentially to get an education to help out her community by going into STEM. And here's essentially Rick Santorum saying get the fuck out, go help some other country. And if you really want to reapply to get back in, well, let's talk about reapplying, right? So the waiting times to immigrate to America have a crazy range, anywhere from 19 months to 33 years, if you already have legal family here, by the way. Now, there's an employment category that range from no wait, right? So if you want to come through in a visa or something, to just over 11 years. Well, now, if you have a visa, if I'm correct on this, if you're applying for H-1B, well, there's a lot of companies that would rather hire people from overseas that'll work for less on the H-1B visa system. And actually, Donald Trump, of all people, talked about that and said there's so much rampant abuse in the H-1B system. We need to do something about it, and it will be tremendous. Yeah, okay. Sure, let's do something about the abuse of the H-1B visa system. Maybe go after employers who abuse it instead of hiring American workers. There are plenty of things that we could do. So I know, off on a little bit of a tangent here, but look, my whole point is the wait times are essentially insane. Now, does that mean that you have a right, because it's crazy, to circumvent that process? No, nobody's saying that you should be able to cut in line. Nobody's saying that what they're doing, what people are crossing the border is doing is fine. Nobody says that. What we're saying is that people that are brought here when they're children that have no say in the process, like, hey, my family's picking up and moving from Monterrey, Monterrey, Mexico, or wherever, and we're going to go to Texas. Is it the kid's fault? No, of course not. Should that child then be deported 20 years later when they've built a family, they've built a life for themselves here in America? No, I don't think that's right at all. That's fucked up. Okay? It's not her fault her parents illegally brought her here. But the problem is, as I said, it does not lie with people like her. It just doesn't. Now, Rick Santorum, however, he's a callous douchebag. And what he represents is the real problem. Somebody that has no empathy and no desire to fix the actual real underlying problems of immigration. He's representative of a party that does not believe in this. Now, Republicans talk about border security also. And look, immigration from Mexico is already in net zero. So what exactly are we securing? Do they expect Mexico to invade us at any day? Maybe. I mean, if you go to Breitbart or some of those right-wing sites, maybe that's what they're telling you. The Mexicans are invading us. They're sending us all our problems. Well, there's no evidence of that. Again, net zero. So that's the problem here. Women like this are not the issue. Elizabeth Vilchis, okay? She's not the issue. Her being brought here when she was younger, not the issue. Lack of empathy and a lack of trying to fix the actual problem with our immigration system, that is the problem. And just being overall callous and being an asshole. Yet her parents broke the law. So do we punish her? It seems like if you're a Republican, that's exactly what you want to do. Now, there's one more thing. Now, when Vilch told Santorum that, yes, she was brought here when she was 7, he later on said, this is after Anna Navarro tore Rick Santorum a new one, which I don't have the video of. He said, look, it's tragic to hear that, and as much as I'm sympathetic to you, you should recognize the gift that America has given you, that you can give to the world. Now, that sounds all nicey nice, etc. But no, what he's essentially saying is that America is great. We're so great that we let you be here, even though you shouldn't have been here for all this time. That time that you were here, well, that's your gift. Now take it and get the fuck out. That's what he's saying. That's what this is about. And that's why he's a callous fucking prick. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.